Hello to all you rad people out there from whatever rad time you're watching in whatever rad place. As always, I'm here, Ryan.
And I'm David!
And that makes us R-A-D rad.
So get rad with us. And I gotta say, Ryan. So, Ryan, we do live in an interesting time these days. And I don't know about you, but I feel like quarantine is the best time to really develop skills, life skills, right? What do you think?
I think you're absolutely correct. Yeah, I've never felt like I've had to be more responsible for myself than at this time, and it's been a challenge, definitely. I mean, it's not easy, right? It's sometimes it's easier when somebody tells you exactly where you need to be at what time and what you need to be doing, and to be a little bit more autonomous. So yeah, it's a challenge, but it's also interesting. Like you said, it's time to acquire new skills.
Exactly. What's maybe one skill that you've found you've been tapping into a little bit more as far as a life skill would go? Yeah.
Well, I gotta say, before this, I never really thought that I would be doing a podcast or any real sort of mass communication. So I guess maybe more than anything, yeah, communication skills have been evolving for me. Yeah, this is not my norm.
Yeah, no. I find communication and technology skills are kind of intertwining for myself, much like you. This communication of a podcast just going viral. Don't take that the wrong way when I say those words, but you get what I'm.
Yeah, we're good.
So, without further ado, we have two fantastic guests today, don't we, Ryan?
We do indeed. These ladies have been working really hard on their senior project all year long on just very tough. What types of skills are the most important, and looking at other skills that are useful for successful academic life.
Yeah, definitely. So without further ado, may we introduce Luisa and Salome. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
All right. So can you guys maybe give a small introduction to the viewers of what your senior project's about?
Yes. Our senior project is basically to identify the soft skills from childhood in the student from the school, from Liceo Taller San Miguel. And we want this because we've been like in academic life, always focusing ourselves in our hard skills. And now that we're graduating, we need also to take into account our soft skills. Yeah, to know like in work space, how can we work? Sorry for like that, but basically that.
We want that the school begin to implement the soft skills more because it's important also when you are going to the university, when you are going to get a job.
Yeah, social skills is what we're mainly talking about. Skill sets that are, can we say non-academic? Would that be safe, Ryan, to say non-academic skills?
I think so. Maybe girls for the enlightenment of our viewers and of ourselves as well. You use the terms hard skills and soft skills. So maybe you could just give us a very quick sort of description of what's the difference between a hard and a soft skill, do you think?
Well, the hard skills are like basically the whole academic skills you acquire like in your academic life, like mathematics, English classes, writing, and all this stuff. And the soft skills like are basically social skills that are like the ones you have like forever, are a skill for a lifetime.
Skills for a
It's
lifetime.
more like the way you communicate with other people, how you speak in public, how you like manage your time, your stress for the things that are the soft skills.
Right, right. And yeah. So I mean, it's interesting because they have different types of names, or we could talk about them in different ways. But like David was saying, social skills versus maybe the hard academic skills. Right. I find it interesting because since I've been a teacher at San Miguel, I have always noticed that there is a sort of a focus, or let's say that attention is starting to shift more in education toward more soft types of things, because I think that we're finding that they're important for students to learn. What have you guys found in your research? Do you see that maybe in the universities students have been lacking these skills, or do you think that there's like an important reason why we should start to focus more on soft skills?
um, well, we found that mostly employers look like if you have your like social skills like developed. So that's mostly like the part like we're taking into account, because if we don't work in our social skills, then getting a job will be harder for us.
You know, you brought up a fantastic point right there, because currently with my 10th graders, they're doing resume writing as a practice. And I've reminded them, skills at the very bottom of a resume is something very important, because it's saying what you're able to do in many ways. Like sometimes some employers, the experience and the volunteer, they may skip those sections because they may see a repetitive kind of, people working as this position or that position. But what they care about a lot, like you've talked about on a resume, is having the skills. What are the skills? Because that's your unique self factor on a resume in many ways, right? It's when you put certain skills down that they're like, oh, wow, someone knows Python here. Oh, wow, someone knows a soft or a hard skill as you've described. So in many ways, what you've talked about, how skills are important to employers, I think for employers, that's like the number one sell point, honestly, the skills that you possess, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And also with our project, we have a population that is the students from third grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade. We make them like a test, kind of a test, and we saw that a problem like in the students of the school was one group that is the one that involved like to express their feelings. If they are sad, if they are mad, we found that problem in the soft skills of the kids of the school.
Interesting, interesting. Huh.
So emotions play a big part in these soft skills as well. And I suppose that evolves with maturity. And then, as David was saying, like a lot of these skills are maybe like employability skills, right? They're skills that you need to be successful in a job, and things like that. So why have you taken this sort of focus on younger students? What do you think is important to focus on soft skills in younger students?
We first thought like more that it could be a good thing if the school begin to implement that when they are children, so when they grow they have like very strength those skills that the school would implement. So that's why we prefer those kids. And also like you see that in like those grades, like bullying and all that is less. They are like more, I don't know how to say it, like they accept more the differences of the others. It's when we grow, like when we separate on groups and all that. So we also thought that it would be a good idea if we show them like you don't need to exclude someone, all have different things and that's good. Everyone is good in their own way. Also, we were thinking about that when we plan our population.
You know, that you brought up a good point that's gotten me thinking as well. From your research and from everything that you guys have found, what is the best, I don't know how to phrase this, but what's the best source to develop skills, right? What's the best like platform? Would you say it's simply talking to someone with a certain skill? Maybe it's like in an educational institution, like a school, that you develop skills. Maybe it's just from having an experience that you develop skills. Maybe it could be just you thinking outside of the box and doing things on your own that develop skills. What is the best, in your all's opinion, way of formulating these skills that you're talking about?
We with our research, we found like a good idea for kids would be didactic games.
Oh.
So we talked with Lina, the
Psychologist.
psychologist of high school, and we told her that we want to make this project, and she gave us some ideas of activities on that are games that we could make with the kids. And with that games, they like begin to practice them, use them more, the ones that they don't apply before. But also that is like a lot of the person. It depends on the person. The soft skills are something that each one like have them.
Yeah.
You understand me?
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you also like develop your soft skills, like being exposed to them. Like for example, we found out that the best way to approach children was by didactic games, as Salome said. So yeah, like developing the soft skills in these children was like with the didactic games.
Yeah.
So
Huh.
yeah, basically is that why did we decided to apply that with them.
I find it. Sorry, go ahead, Ryan. Mm-hmm.
No, I was just going to ask what kind of games, maybe if you could give us an example of games that you played with the kids, and then how have they been able to sort of, translate in that in one way or another into like a learning or a reflective process, do you think?
Mm, sure. One of the activities that we make with the kids is that first we make them the test and we saw which one they need to strength. So we found out that the one of the feelings, how they express, was a problem for them. So one activity that we made was that we give them like a happy face, a sad face, a mad face, and we told them like situations, and they need to show us how would they react to that situation. And we saw that many of the kids they are ones that are like shy, that they don't want to show, or they take out one face and see the faces of the others, so they change it.
Huh. No, I find it very interesting that you guys chose to go with the sample size of younger students, right? You went with, am I correct in saying primary students?
Yeah.
Yeah. I find it interesting because I do believe, when you start developing skills at a younger age, they stay with you longer, right? But with Ryan and I being a little bit older, I'm curious, Ryan, for you, when do you think what period of your life did you develop the most skills, like life skills, if you will?
I've been trying to think of this sort of
Yeah.
as we've been having this conversation. And for instance, I'm gonna pick out one skills institute can tell exactly how I got this skill, but I don't know if it's exactly the same method that we're talking about right now. I have always, I have for most of my life, even late childhood and then early adulthood, had excellent time management, I guess. And time management in the sense that, for instance, I am always early to where I need to go, right? I'm never the type of arriving at the last minute, running late or anything like that, except for today's podcast. That's a different story. And especially
One time.
and I think Colombia also in the past 10 years has changed my relationship with time a bit. Like I'll be honest, like it's affected me, probably not in a positive way. But I can tell you that definitely before I came here, for me, if I had an appointment, if I had somewhere to go, for me, being 15 minutes early was being on time. Being less than 15 minutes early for me got stressful, got to the point where I was like, I felt bad for not being really early. But I know exactly where this comes from, because my dad has been late for everything my entire life. And so I had to suffer with my dad always being late for everything. And so I took a very extreme reaction to that. And I stuck it in my brain at a very early age. I will never be late. I will never be late like my dad. And it worked. It worked, right? Now, I don't know if you want to call that a skill, or you might start to look at that as like a form of psychological repression that I've exercised against myself. I don't know. Clearly I have some issues, but it helped me. I mean, it helped me in my life because being on time is really important, and it's a skill that a lot of people don't have, or a lot of people don't manage well. And so for me, it's always been a big advantage, and I think it helped me have success in a lot of my early sort of professional life and in my first employment and things like that. So I don't know. It's hard to. It would be hard for me to point to anything else in my life that affected my attitude towards time. But my dad definitely affected my attitudes towards time.
Mr. Press, actually, I feel you with that.
Yeah, you understand the pain of having late parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel you.
I think in many ways there is a parental influence to us developing skills. Absolutely, like what you've just described.
Right.
For me, I went to, like, in terms of the time period that I developed some of those skills, I went to a boarding school like at a young age, like at 11, and the natural thing for it was survival. It was like survival instincts had to kick in all of a sudden. And I will definitely say that I think the development of skills, for me at least, was, I think survival leads you to the one really important skill that you guys mentioned, which is adaptability. Like under survival, you have to adapt. Charles Darwin has and it's a quote I've always said, and I love it, because it's not the strongest of species that survives. It's not the smartest of species that survives. It's the most adaptable of species that survives, which kind of links that skill that you guys mentioned earlier about adaptability, right? Survival requires adaptability. And I think for me, at least, that was kind of the skill I've always leaned a little bit more towards. In terms of Ryan's experience, for me, I think it was always survive and adapt. That's kind of the two connections, at least in my experience, that I can relate to those skills that you guys have mentioned. But for you guys, like, describe an experience that you've had and what kind of skill emerged from it, right? I'm sure there must have been something that emerged from an experience in your life.
Well, in my case, I think that is mostly because I've been in some social programs. Like last year, I was in Futuros Dirigentes, and before I was in the Scouts from Risaralda. So there, I think you have to develop a lot, like your communication skills, because it's where, like for example, in the social program I was like last year, you have like to talk a lot with people you don't really know, and you have like to meet like a lot of people and try to like um, have empathy with them, because you're like um seeing a lot another reality of the world.
Yeah.
So it's like mostly that.
And for you, Salome?
I think like in every moment of your life, you're like kind of applying some skills. Because for example, when you need to make a presentation, like the senior project, you need to know how to speak in public and to communicate with the people that is listening to you. Also, an example of leadership could be like, for example, when we are making the activities with the kids, because we need to tell them what to do, to explain, and they need to follow what we're saying. The time management, like all the time for everything. Also stress for the things that like the homework, so you know to how to manage and you don't get like crazy. Is that I think that in every moment of your life you are kind of applying a soft skill.
I'm gonna ask a question to the panel because we've talked about the experiences and skills. Would this equation make sense maybe? Number of experiences equals number of skills, as in the more experiences that you gain in life, the more skills that you can apply. I don't know, it could, be debatable in many ways because you might have an experience that takes away a skill, but then you might have one that brings it back. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I
Yes,
think it really makes sense.
Yeah?
yeah, it
Yeah.
could. It's like that is something that you could not like stop. Kind of maybe when you make something in public and they like say something and you feel bad, you could lose the ability to speak in public.
Yeah.
It's like, but that is when we came in with our project saying that they need to be very strong with those abilities, so when they get on some kind of situations they don't feel like bad and they don't say like no, I won't do that again.
Hmm.
So in that regard, Palome mentioned earlier practicing leadership skills with the students. I always I always love the experience when students get to play teacher a little bit, because the funniest thing to me is when they come and they say, teacher, but they didn't listen to us at all. And I just say, really? That's incredible. I cannot believe that they did not listen to you. It's so weird.
That's good.
Usually when I am talking in front of a classroom, I have 100% of their attention. I mean, how could this have happened, right? Um, but I think, again, that's an important experience in life, because then you start to feel a little bit of empathy for your teacher, right? Your teacher's just this funny guy who always stands in front of the room and does sort of weird little song and dance every day. But when you get to feel what it's like to be the teacher, you start to I imagine that would affect your behavior as well, right?
Yes.
That changed a lot, like your point of view when you're going a class, actually.
So you guys ready to become teachers anytime soon? Looking
No,
into the
No.
teacher
I
profession?
don't want to be a teacher.
Same.
Well, I can't say that.
That's so hard.
Yeah, yeah. I can't say that at the time where I was graduating from high school, I wanted to be a teacher either. I don't. That comes with time again and experience. Now I can't think of
Yeah.
really doing anything else, but yeah.
I wouldn't really like being a teacher, but I respect you guys a lot because it's a really hard work. For
Yeah, it's a really hard work.
Namaste. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much for appreciating it. I was going to ask, one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot lately is, well, I've been thinking about many, many things lately, but one of the things is then, if we are sort of headed towards a world which is much more focused on the skills, and maybe not even so much the world, because I almost think that maybe the world has always been focused on skills, but education for a long time has been focused on really, I think what we would just call like knowledge, just knowing a lot of things, right? And knowing, I guess, is a skill, right? But it's definitely not the only skill. So are we headed towards a world then well, sorry, I think we already are looking at an educational system and an educational model that is de-emphasizing knowledge in favor of skills, right? More focus on skills, less focus on knowledge, which in general I think is a good thing. But when I was growing up, I used to always watch this show called Jeopardy. It was on TV. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Jeopardy is a trivia show, right? And so these guys get up in front of the TV every day and they ask them questions, and by answering the questions, they earn money, and they know a lot of things. I'm wondering, are we moving away from a Jeopardy world? I mean, will people have as much sort of general knowledge, or will they have less of it, or will they have more of it? Maybe. I mean, maybe they'll have more because the education system isn't just so focused on that, but people will need to go out and find that information on their own. I don't know. I'm only speculating here, but I'm wondering what you guys think about this. What's going to happen to our knowledge? I mean, I know that the man landed on the moon in 1969, right? That's important. I know that the river Liffey runs through the city of Dublin. I know that the capital of New York is Albany. Is any of that information important?
Not really.
No.
I don't think you get a job just saying I know what the capital of New York is.
Okay. So all of my trivia will only serve if one day I get to go on Jeopardy and be a contestant. Maybe then I can win.
But it can help you if you want to establish a conversation. It could help. So it's basically also it can be taken as a social skill.
Okay. So yeah. He's the guy who knows a bunch of stupid facts.
Yeah.
Hey, if we ever need to know something stupid, we should talk to that guy.
Yeah. I feel like that's my friends for the last 10 years. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Hey, David. Oh no. You know what? I don't want to know anymore. That's a good point though about bringing in the fact that we're just taught knowledge and not skills. I don't know. I've never done research into it, but I think you look at education systems 100 years ago, I'm pretty confident they were trying to develop more skills than there are skills today. 100 years ago, you'd walk to school. You'd probably run into and have some exchange of words with someone, and I just have this feeling like in the past there was a lot more emphasis on skills. like for example, my mom even, she went to university in the US in, well, that's a good question, Win. But when she went to university in the US, like sure enough, one of the classes that she took was developing a cooking skill, you know, and it's like, well, cooking, for example, that's something I've actually during quarantine have really heightened in terms of as a skill. You know, I've realized, David, your cooking skills be like down here, and we're trying to get them up here. So, you know, it's been a nice skill that I've been developing over quarantine, yeah? What about you guys? At least during this period of time, have you tried to develop a skill?
Um,
No.
I'm sorry.
Laughter is a skill. There you go. Now that's a skill you're utilizing.
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Are you remembering some kitchen disasters that you've had? Or
Yeah.
Yeah, also. I've been so bad cooking like my whole life. I think I only know how to do a sandwich.
Yeah. Just a sandwich, right? Okay. All right. Salome, yeah. What about yourself?
mm, my dad is a chef, so he cook everything for me. I don't
Okay. Uh-huh. Well, oh,
I
learn that
don't do
skill.
anything.
All right. Well, you can
I
learn,
also
right? Yeah. Develop it yourself. Definitely.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. All right.
and no, we had Juliana and Maria Antonia on the podcast earlier in this week. Although I don't know if it's up yet, but anyway, and and they were talking about the IGFES, and to a certain extent, when we talk about this sort of emphasis on competencies, right? And I think what we're also talking about is we're talking about an emphasis on skills or abilities to do things rather than, again, like just knowledge or trivia, right? So on the IGFES, they're not going to ask you what the river that flows through the city of Dublin is, right? Because it's not going to be important. So again, I see a reflection in contemporary education that's sort of emphasizing this focus. But maybe, David, what you were saying is interesting, because you're saying you think that skills have always been there. We just maybe we didn't talk about them like this, or we didn't focus on them maybe in the way that we're doing them now. Now we're seeing, wow, people need to develop skills a little bit more, because everyday life also doesn't require them as much. Maybe people are cooking less and ordering more Rappi. Maybe people are well, talking less and chatting more. You know, that
This
those
is also like an adaptability situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I remember I had a difficult adaptation to texting. But
So yeah, no, don't get me wrong with texting, but I question society, because it's like, all right, what's all these emojis mean when you send them to me? I have no idea what you're talking about here. Like, am I supposed to read some Egyptian hieroglyphics here? Like, what is this right here? You're not making any sense. But it's like, yeah, like those small communicative, you know, processes have kind of, you know, I love having a good conversation with people, you know, but sometimes it's a little too much. But either way, you know, like I feel like the element of communication, the number one skill that you guys mentioned, is kind of changing as a social skill, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say something about what Ryan was saying before about the ACFES, about Juliana's and Antonia's senior project. ICFES is not only about knowledge, like anything, like nothing in life is only about knowledge. You have to also take into account, like for example, for the ICFES, that you need also to have some skills to have an excellent performance. Because if you know a lot but you don't have like the skills to take a test, that, because actually taking a test is actually a skill, because it's not easy for some people, then you won't get like really good results, because you can know a lot, but also if you don't have the skills, you will like fail, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
And education nowadays is focusing only on the hard skills that are like knowledge, but they're not taking into account that it's also important the soft skills, because um, they're basically the ones that will help you survive life.
Hmm. It's true. That's true.
So if you had to pick like three skills, let's say that you, because maybe okay, you're about to graduate from high school, so I
Yeah.
mean, you know, the song is over, right? But if you were going to rewrite the high school curriculum, what do you think are the maybe two, three skills that you would say would be most important for high schoolers to be working on as they prepare themselves to go on into the next step of life, into the university and into the work world and things like that? What would you say, two or three?
I think that adaptability is very important for everything. For
Mhm.
example, the change from a school to a university is
Mm.
a hard change.
Well,
Also,
you guys got a crash course in adaptability this year, right? I mean,
The world did.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think that anybody has ever had to adapt so fast and so
yeah.
dramatically, or at least not anybody for a really long time. So,
Oh, yeah.
so there you go. You guys are already ahead of the ball game, right?
And also, I think like time management is very important. Not only like for be on time on classes, also that is important, but also for how you manage. You have three works. You need to know this day I make this one, tomorrow that one, or I need to finish all them today.
I also think I have like maybe four that are like adaptability, communication, time management, and decision making. Because also you like it's really important that you know what to decide in important like in an important moment.
Hmm. Decision making. I know that I think is a
That's the one I was
probably.
going to mention as well for myself. For my three, I would, take a little piece of each one of yours. I'd definitely say adaptability, problem solving, and time management. Those are the three in a very professional context, I think are critical for,
Mhm,
for future success. Absolutely. Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Decision making is one for me that I feel like I need to improve because oftentimes uh, I suffer a little bit from Hamlet syndrome. I don't know if you guys have read Hamlet or if you know Hamlet, the play by Shakespeare. The problem with Hamlet is that at the beginning of the play, Hamlet's father is a ghost, and he says, "Hamlet, you need to kill your uncle." And Hamlet says, "Okay, I'm gonna kill my uncle." And then he spends the whole play saying, "Okay, I need to kill my uncle. I need
Yeah.
to kill my uncle." He just can't make the decision. He can't take the action. He can't execute. And I think I suffer a little bit from Hamlet syndrome as well. I think a lot about things. I think about them and I think about them more and I think about them more. But the more I think about them, also the more sort of scared to make a decision I get. Very, very complex.
Well, guys, we're getting close to the end of the podcast, but I wanted to take everyone out towards the end of the podcast and say one skill that you'd like to try and work on during the quarantine.
Hey, I
So,
already did it.
would you guys like to develop during quarantine if you're able to do it? Mm-hmm.
Mm, I don't know. Well, I think communication is like the best like skill that you need to develop like in this time, because it's not only like you're chatting all the time, but also like if you are with your family, you need to like start to communicating well with them. Because for example, in my case, I don't have like good communication with part of my family, and I need like to improve that.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Communication. That's a good one. What about for yourself, Salome?
No, I think that, like I said before, adaptability, because it's a big change, because you need to stay home, like you have no other choice. And also that includes how you relate with the people that is in your house, how you study online, because you
Absolutely. Yeah.
pass from being on a school to see everyone like in a
Screen.
other thing. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For yourself, Ryan, what are you thinking?
Oh, mine is decision making. Decision making,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
You know, I'm torn between what you've mentioned, decision making and communication, because you know, I can't give a straight answer a lot of the time. People say, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "What day of the week is it?" "Oh, okay, yeah, we'll go with that." It's like, "What's your name?" "I don't know." "Are we talking legal? Are we talking nickname?" Like, I don't know what my name is. I've got different names for different people. So, decision making on such simple matters of what's your name and where you're from. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I'd like to improve that skill. I'll say from the bottom to the top. Start from the bottom. Now we here. So, we'll see if we ever get there. But anyway, yeah. Well, I think on that note, I want to
Okay.
thank
Yeah.
Luisa, Salome. You guys did a fantastic job. Really informed us of your project, and I have to say, fantastic research. I'm sure you guys did with skills and a younger age population. Really interesting stuff you did. So thank you for joining us today. Absolutely.
Thank you
No,
for
thank
having us.
you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yes.
And we look forward to hearing excellent news when you finish and pass your senior project.
Yeah,
Congratulations. Best of
absolutely.
luck.
So,
Well, guys, you know, if you have a topic to bring to the RAD podcast, bring it. We're always ready to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
if you got a passion, if you have an idea, if you got some kind of crazy thought in your head, bring it on the podcast, everyone.
We'll see you next time.
Till next time, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.